Welcome to the Your Winning Podcast. We're back again. I'm your host, Donald for Show Martin. I want to let you guys know I missed you guys, but life has been busy. Life has been going back and forth. You know, it's summertime, but I'm just glad to be here. And I want to first of all give a shout out to my sponsor. I want to give a shout out to my sponsor, Food by the Word, that sponsors the water for the Your Winning Podcast. So shout out to James Montgomery and what you do. Also want to give a shout out to the sponsor, the Don has done it again, the Don Experience. If you're looking for a vehicle, come holler at me at 317-701-5278. And we're going to get into a lot of other things, but I got a special guest today. I'm a fan of hers on Facebook. She don't know it. I don't even like most of her posts or even love most of her posts, but I follow her whole thread, and she probably does about 10 threads a day, and some of them are very, very controversial, but I love it because she's doing great things in the community, and many of you may not know who she is. So this is not just for Indianapolis. This is not just for Indiana, but we're talking about this is for the world. Wow. I'm going to introduce you to her, but before I do, let's start off with a word of prayer. Let's pray. Our Heavenly Father, we thank you for this great day. We thank you for your mercy and your grace. We thank you for everyone who will be tuning in to the Your Winning Podcast. We pray that something be said, something be done to enlighten our people so we can be greater in who we already are, so we can live this life in prosperity and live this life in being victorious. And we pray for our guest as you continue to blow her up in all areas of her life. We thank you for these things in Jesus Christ's name we pray. Amen. Amen. All right, so listen, her bio is pretty long, so I ain't got time to really read on that. So instead of doing all that, I'm going to let her speak her own bio. So without further ado, you talking about somebody that's very boisterous, someone that is a voice for the community, but most of all, she's the voice for the children. Like, she really loved children. And so without further ado, let's give it up for India Johnson.
Wow, look, I feel like I need to apply for myself behind that. That was great. Thank you.
Thank you. First of all, thank you for putting your time, because I know you're busy. I know you, and we're going to talk a little bit about that, but I appreciate you carving out some time for the Your Winning Podcast. Let me let you know up front, reason why I brought you on here, because like I said, I do follow you, and I see you doing great things, and we're going to talk about some of the great things, but I really admire you because you have a conviction, and it doesn't matter what others think, you do what you know to do is right. And that's amazing to me, because you know, a lot of people want to say, we want to be different. We want to be different. Right. But really, when you go against what somebody else's think, they be like, well, why you don't think this?
Yep.
Like, I thought you want me to be different.
Right.
And so I see you are very, very different in a great way.
Oh, so thank you.
Tell us about you. Like, who are you? Like, where are you from?
Oh, wow. Who am I? So I am a child of God. Number one, I'm from Hopkinsville, Kentucky. Hoptown. And yes, and people don't understand, Hoptown is a blessed place. There's something very special about Hoptown, but there's a lot of pain there too. So I'm an Army kid. So my dad's from New York, South Carolina. My mom is from Hoptown. My dad was stationed in Fort Campbell, and that's how I came to be. I lived in Germany for the first couple years, and then as soon as my dad was like out of active duty, we dropped right down here on the east side of Indianapolis. And I've been on the east side since I was 4 years old. I went to Warren Central, and then IU Bloomington, and then IUPUI. I literally am just here. When you talk about how when you are doing the work where you're from, you cannot switch it up. You know, like, people have known me since before I was in kindergarten. I can't be anything but authentic. And for a long time, that was a battle, because it's like, oh, I went to college and now I'm supposed to be this, but I love my friends and I don't want to change. So it's just, I've been an educator in this city, primarily on the east side, and it's just like, I can't go anywhere in this city without somebody recognizing me because they went to school with me, or I was their teacher, or they were my teacher. So I've been forced to stay true to who I am. So yeah, I am as self-actualized as one could be, and that's what I just hope and pray for everybody. I know that God gave me a little bit of extra splat to go ahead and like go get my people. Like, that's what I tell people. Like, so I am kind of impervious to the things. Like, all the whoopings in the world ain't never do nothing to me. And I was just telling my mama today, like, you tried. You know, like, all the whoopings couldn't change me. And she's like, now I know this is who you are. You know, like, I know that this is your way of being a messenger for God, but she has just go ahead and let me be me. And so I'm just grateful I'm surrounded by people who don't just let me be me, but they encourage me to be me at this point.
But you have a drawing power about you. Like, you have an energy, and I know it comes from God, but you kind of magnetic. Mm-hmm. You feel that way? I
do now. It took a while for me to acknowledge that. Like, look, I was bony, braces, glasses, bald-headed. So by no means did I ever see myself in that light. You gotta work through a whole lot, and this is all of us, especially being black, being descendant. If you're a descendant of some slaves, you're carrying generations of some stuff. So I really had to work through some things to see myself the way God sees me. Right. So now I 100% acknowledge that I have that magnetic power about me.
You do. Even in your posts, I believe you, like, even God is expand your territory. Mm-hmm. That, you know, you're a go-getter. Like, and that's what, like, so moving there, you say you've been an educator. Like, you know, educators in most cases, I think they make about 30,000, 35,000, if that, a year. And you say you're on the east side of town. Tell us about them challenges when you getting checks where, but then you putting in probably 80 hours a week sometimes, depending on the child, depending on the homework. How do you deal with that?
Oh, so I don't know. I always saw myself as a millionaire. I always saw myself as a millionaire, not because I'm a capitalist, but because I see the people with the money, they ain't doing right by it. And I know, like, it can all be so simple, you know what I mean? Like, the resources just need to be used differently. So even when I was, like, a first-year teacher making $30-something thousand a year, or my first teaching job, I was making $418 every other week.
Wow.
Yeah, I knew my worth. Yeah. And I knew what I brought to the school. I didn't really know what I was bringing to the world yet, but I knew what I brought to the school, so I never shied away from advocating for what I was owed. And if you're not going to pay me and have me in a position to where I can take care of myself and these kids, I'm going to have to go somewhere else. I also refuse to do damage to kids and families, so I taught at like 7 or 8 different schools in 7 or 8 years. I was not ever married to any of these institutions because I knew I came in here to blow this thing up anyway. But God always placed a vision on me that was far greater than what I see right now. I really don't ever see like this moment. Yeah. I always see something ahead of that. So when I was teaching on the Far East Side making $32,000, I bought a condo. So, you know, like I just always was about using the resources God gave me. My mama told me, if you don't do right by what God gave you right here, then he's not going to expand your territory. And I'm like, I need my territory to expand to the world. Like you said, 'cause when I was little, I said I was going to get a Nobel Prize for changing the world. So I couldn't, I don't know, like squander the little bit I had and then hope for more. So I really never felt that struggling teacher situation the way that a lot of people do. And then I also just fought for what was owed to me. And then by the time now I'm the executive director of my own school. Of course, I'm not making $30-something thousand, you know, like.
So please,
yes.
You do that, expound on the school. So you're the executive?
Yeah, so I started a school, Thriveville Indie Academy, 4 years ago. And when I sit back and reflect on the way that God was working through me, because it was a program that already existed, and Thriveville World Academies at the time was an idea of 2 graduate students at Harvard. And for them, it was more about, if we make study abroad available for all students. And their hearts were in the right place, but it was just a program that was going to put a bandage over, you know, like systemic problems. And at the time, I had just graduated from IUPUI with my master's and had my admin license. I was just looking for a regular administration job. could not get one. I'm teaching at Stony Brook, and I remember I interviewed for 2 years straight. And the second year, toward the end of the school year, I was telling my students, well, I'll see y'all next year. And they were like, no, you're not Miss Johnson. You're going to be a principal. And I said, no, I keep interviewing, and nobody wants me. And they were like, what do you always tell us? Don't give up. You don't give up on yourself. And I was like, wow. I mean, those kids, those 7th graders got me together. Right. And then I got a phone call, hey, there's this program looking to start a school here. They're looking for somebody who's from here. And I'm like, okay. So anyway, I took this program. I got admitted into the fellowship. I had 3 weeks to make a school. So a curriculum.
You said 3 weeks?
3 weeks to get the curriculum together, to recruit the students, to hire. I mean, bell schedules, everything. I had 3 weeks. And at the time, it was at on Arsenal Tech's campus, 1 year only, so 11th grade. For that 1 year, we would spend 3 months in Thailand. And so January to March, we were in Thailand. So I knew I have these black and brown children. Most of them never left Indianapolis before. Ain't none of them passed ISTAT.
Even their own neighborhood.
Their own neighborhood. Because, being from the Far East Side, I literally thought Keystone was the west side of town. Uh-huh. So you don't have access to your own city, let alone the world. So all this is going through my mind. How do I get their credits up? Because most of them were behind in credits coming from the school where they came from. They got to pass ISTAT in order to graduate. And then I'm taking them to Asia, being black in Asia, it comes with its challenges. So then at the same time, I had a classmate / good friend of mine get murdered. And then one of my students was actually arrested for murder, and one of my sorority sisters' family members. And then one of my other students was murdered. He snuck out of his house and snuck back in and accidentally got killed. And then another one of my students got killed. And then one of my students' stepdads got killed all in 1 year. And I was like, I can't play around with this. This isn't just about taking these kids out of the country. This isn't just about getting them their credits. This is my opportunity to actually do something for my community. So that's when we infuse the identity, because I need you to know who you are when you go to Asia and they start pulling your hair and taking pictures and looking at you like you're an animal in an exhibit. Right. I need you to know that I'm not showing you look how poor these people are so you can value what you got. No, we're going to go out of this country so you can learn how other people solve problems, so you can bring that problem solving skills back into this city. It really became real for me once I felt I was just suffering so much tragedy. Like, it was God getting my attention, like, India, this is your time to do something with this. Don't waste it. So I had 2 years of the school like that. After the first year, I realized in some ways I was doing more damage than good to those babies, because they're coming to me and getting this really family feel. It's very healing. I tell people my school is like church without all the restrictive rules. And you come in and you get healed and you have joy and you have family and you find yourself and your greatness, and then we toss you right back to the school that hurt you. And they were so attached to me. I'm like, man, I'm hurting them. So I can't do that anymore. So I did this thing everybody told me was crazy. And I said, I'm pausing the school for a year, and I just shut it down. And I'm like, nobody's gonna be hurt by this because it's 11th grade only. It's not like we had schools or students who were gonna roll over. And some people who had enrolled for the next year, they were upset about it, but there's nothing, I'm either gonna upset 7 kids who had enrolled for the next year and really do something for my community, or just keep going in this direction because everybody's telling me to do it. I went against what everybody was saying, shut that school down, met with the NAACP multiple times and the IPS Community Coalition, Far East Side Community Council, everybody, the commissioners, like, y'all tell me what you desire from a school. And we're gonna make sure that you have the school that you want, and I'm not just subjecting you to something. And I took the school basically from that organization. They were great people, but they don't know what we need in Indianapolis. And really, people in Indianapolis don't even know what we need in Indianapolis. So I took the school from them, changed the name, changed the logo, changed the board, and made myself the executive director. And it's like, at some point I said, if I know I'm doing what God is calling me to do. So if you try to get in my way, you're just gonna be my footstool. That's just what it's gonna have to be. Like, you decide, because I don't have enemies. I have footstools. So just move, get with it, or I'm about to step on you. This would have to be. So then we reopened last school year as a 9th through 12th grade school, doing a slow grow. So last year was 9th grade only. This year will be 9th and 10th grade in the Arlington building, because everybody knows the East Side is my heart, and we're doing this the right way. And instead of taking our students to Asia, when they're in 11th grade, they'll go to the Dominican Republic. So they can see people who look like us, speaking multiple languages on an island. I remember the first time I went to the DR, I was just like, I felt so beautiful. I felt seen. And I want them to have that experience and learn about colonialism, where you can actually really see it and the impact of it. Learn about ecosystems, public health, and then learn about baseball and the impact of this sport, the impact it has had on the community, on the social hierarchy, on the economy, all of that. So I'm really excited, and I know that this model of the school is what it's supposed to be. And then we've added in this healing piece, so now we do a whole bunch of healing work out of the school. I really just want it to be a community hub, because, like, that's just what I'm all about at this point.
So what I'm hearing is you went against the grain, as far as you'd rather have 7 kids to be upset a little bit instead of destroying 700 kids moving forward.
Yes.
And that takes a lot of guts to do, where you saying, wait a minute, I know this sounds good, and like you said, because sometimes people go away to go to these conferences away, and then they try to implement what's going on in California and implement it in the Midwest or Indianapolis, and that's 2 different cultures. Even though same brown people, black people, brown, but it's different ways of doing it. And so we'll take that model, and then when it doesn't work here, we're like, it doesn't work.
And blame the community.
And blame the community why it's not working. Where it's just, you may need to, like what you done, you tweaked, okay, I'm gonna take your ideology in some ways, but I have to make it personable for Indianapolis. So you got a lot of children. I mean, you have a lot of children that you are connected with. Yes. So you're saying, even in this, we in the 21st century, we still dealing with people looking at us as animals.
Yeah.
In the world.
All over the world, yeah.
Over the world.
Yeah, I remember being in that, and they can't help it. I'm not going to charge it to their hearts.
Yeah.
They just haven't been exposed to us in ways that that's what we were talking about before. We have to tell our own stories and make sure those stories are on international platforms. Because I remember even being in a mall in Thailand, and the only advertisement I ever saw before Black Panther came out, which was so powerful watching Black Panther in Asia.
Wow.
But before that, the only ad I ever saw about black people, it was a man, it was at a shoe store, and they were advertising some Nikes, and he was very animalistic. Like, they had him, it was a black guy, like a tiger or something. And I just looked at that, like, it just broke my heart a little bit. I remember being in the airport and people pulling my hair and taking videos of me. I mean, it broke me down. And this is me going over there before I was gonna take the students, and the entire time I was there, like, they would snicker, and I'm like, and I love me, and I feel pretty good about who I am, but y'all got me really feeling away. So I could not have that be the experience of my babies, because I'd be over there fighting.
Yeah, because we some things we don't understand until we go to outside of our country. But once again, we don't go outside our neighborhood.
Right.
I grew up on 34th and Capitol. I did not know Meridian turned to US 31 until I was 27. 28. So, I'm going down Meridian, and they said just keep going. I had to go up to like 146th Street to like Westfield area. And so I'm going 31. I'm going Meridian. All of a sudden I'm like, wait a minute, what happened to Meridian? And this is 27, 28 years old, because I was stuck around the 465 area, and you don't know, it's more to life, because really, be honest, the education system has rules. It keeps us
in a box.
And you get most of the stuff you do actually get from school. It's probably 85% or 90% I don't even use.
Exactly.
I took physics. I'm sorry. I took geometry. I don't use that.
But people only think about the curriculum and we talk about how we don't apply that stuff at learning at school, I'm like, that's really just a cover for what they really want to teach us in schools, because we learn follow directions, we learn don't go against the grain, we learn that if you don't fit in this kind of box at all, then you're just an outlier and there's nothing for you. If you're a black male, you learn you either got to be entertaining or athletic or a savant. And if you're not any of those, then we really don't care about you. These are things. So we absolutely learn a whole bunch of school that we apply to our lives.
You know, that's a good point. But it's just not in the, you're right.
Yeah, it's never the content, but who cares? Because that's not the part. These employers don't care if you learn physics. Do you learn how to just get up when a bell rings and do what you're supposed to do without pushing back at all? Did you learn compliance? Did you learn compliance?
Because that's what we deal with. He didn't comply or she didn't comply, because there's this level of we here and you there. And you know, that's just like, even I was thinking about that when you deal with authority, because that's authority. We don't see, a lot of times other races don't see us on the same playing field. So if we don't comply, you know, I got children, and if my children say something crazy to me, the first thing come out of my mouth, like, who are you talking to? Like, I'm letting you know I'm your father. Like, I have the authority, so you are never going to be able to talk to me. And the same thing happened in the world. You have certain policemen, not all, but certain policemen. If you don't comply, the first thing come out their mouth is, who are you talking to? Like, that level playing field. So you talking about taking them to the DR, taking them to people, because I've been to Puerto Rico before. Puerto Rico, I was so, and this was 2 years ago, when I went to Puerto Rico, man, I felt so dumb after I left Puerto Rico, because I didn't know they 1/3 African. I didn't know they got the history, because we took a tour of the whole, and I'm like, man, I didn't know any of these things.
So who would have taught you?
Right. So I'm sitting there, I'm like, man, because I'm like, and then thinking the way they look at the black and brown as far as from America, because when we was down there, we didn't open our mouth, so they was kind of like, who are you? Are you Asian or whatever? They didn't know. But as soon as we opened our mouths, they was like, oh my God, whatever you need, whatever you want, because it's like, we want to be, we really admire you, but a lot of things we don't know. So that's awesome that you're taking children from the East Side and you're expanding their world. So you took some kids already?
Not to DR. We did 2 rounds of Thailand. We won't go to the DR till 2023.
So how was the testimonies from the kids that came from Thailand?
Oh, I mean, they come back whole different individuals, but then the problem is it's traumatic, because you come back to a family in a city, a community that has not changed at all, and you have done so much rapid evolution. And you're taking these 16, 17, 18-year-olds out of the country. They are prime for evolution, so it's rapid evolution, and their whole world has expanded, and then they're romanticizing what life is gonna be. Oh, and I would try to set them up for it. The last time I brought a group back, I cried on the way to the airport, because they were romanticizing what they were coming home to, and it was just devastating to me that they were going to be crushed when they got back. But they've changed so much, and now their worldview is so different, and it's triggering to the families that they come back to, because now the experiences that they're talking about, they're knowledgeable about advocacy in a different kind of way, and food sources in a different kind of way, water. I mean, we take what's in textbooks and you're doing it. You're learning about water pollution and testing polluted water. You're learning about agriculture and living with farmers and learning the difference between conventional and organic farming. So then you come back and you start having opinions about the food you eating at home. You start having opinions about what's going on. And families aren't ready for that. Parents are not at all. And I can't blame them, because they haven't been through that experience. They don't have that. And then it starts to like trigger this insecurity. Oh, so what you're telling me is that what I have ain't good enough. What we're doing here isn't good enough. So it was beautiful to watch them grow. But I also knew I have to do this more intentionally with the entire family and community if I can, because otherwise they'll just come back and be ridiculed back into being the way they were before they left.
Yeah, because, especially in black families, You don't ask questions. You don't question anything. And then out of that, whatever's on the table is what you eat. Like you didn't, especially if you're coming from a impoverished community, it's like this is all we have. And so, question: How is that funded? How do if somebody's listening to this, how do they get involved? Because you said 2023, you're going to the DR. Mm-hmm. Is this out of their pocket, or do you have sponsors?
I am doing. This is why I stepped out of the principal role, and I'm allowing the people who are called to do the school directing work to do that, so that I can do the fundraising, and networking, because we cover their passports, visas, and their entire experiences, flights, and all of that. And that means I have to just go around and woo people and get that money. I'm doing more grant writing. I've really honestly had an issue with grants in the past because I'm going to these people who ain't from my community, don't know anything about us, and I gotta beg you for money. You're gonna tell me what I'm allowed to do with the money because you know what's best for my community. I really struggle with that. Right. But I kind of have to put my ego to the side and do it for these kids. But you can also go to thriveableiindy.org, and there is a support us tab, and you can donate. You can donate through PayPal or Benevity. It hasn't been since the fellowship. I was in a fellowship for a year with the Mind Trust, and so there was money that came with that. But that was in 2017, 2018. There actually has not been any big money that I've gotten since. It's the money that every school gets for having their students enrolled, and the majority of it goes to my staff and paying people well, getting good people in, paying them well, and then making sure that we can pay for these experiences. I'm really gonna have to up my fundraising game.
So kind of give me an average of for one child, what? Because somebody may just want to sponsor a child. Mm-hmm. Give me a what's the average on the sponsored child to go?
Okay, so for 10th grade, our students to go, we're going to do a civil rights tour around that down Atlanta, Montgomery, Selma, and New Orleans, and so that one is about $500 per student. Okay. And then the Dominican Republic one, what we have estimated is about. It's on the website. I believe it's $3,500 per student.
Per student? Mm-hmm. So that gives, you said that's 2023?
2023.
So we in 2021, so that gives you 2 years to come up with $3,500 to help. We talking about community.
Yes.
We talking about helping, and then not only that, you said the civil rights. You said 500. That's when are you doing that one?
That one is 2020. What is this? 2022. So the spring of 2022.
Two is when you're doing.
So this school year, we'll go on that tour for the 10th graders.
And so we'll have your website on the. So we need to get involved. I mean, because we're talking about. That's my thing. I believe we don't. Going back to what you said about people that have the people's money follow their advice, and it's caught up in that. And so, like I said, I'll give you $2,000, but I need you to do X, Y, Z. And you're like, these ain't the kids that you can do X, Y, Z. We probably have to do A, B, C, or whatever. We have to do something different. But I'm all about these young people need to experience. And like you said, even it's a seed that's being planted. Mm-hmm. That, okay, they in the house 16, 17, 18, but they're going to eventually, because if they go to college is a different world. Like, some children can't survive in college because they go and they be like, man, I'm meeting people from all over the world and I do not know how to function or how to communicate on who I am. And, we feel like, the way we talk with our hands. We're very emotional, and some people think, well, you violent. Yep. You being too extra. Yep. And it's like, but no, that's just who I am. And so I'm gonna say it again. Civil rights in 2022, springtime, 500 to sponsor a child. 2023, going to the DR, Dominican Republic, that's 3,500, and we need to get on board. Like this is the purpose of this, so people can get information on that. But I just feel like, man, you are like you were swimming up.
Oh, I
you're
am.
swimming up. Everybody else is coming this way, and you like, and they looking at you like, what is she doing?
Yep.
but you're not doing it to be known. You're doing it for the children, because at the end of the day, we keep saying, you know, our children, it is like we was talking about earlier, our children, we got some, you know, this generation is different. Yeah. Really, if we get to know our children, if we get to know them and get to really listen and care about them, you'll find out that they some pretty dope children.
They're dope people.
Yeah,
like
dope
these
people.
humans, and what, like, we are so worried about preparing the kids for the world as it is, as opposed to letting them prepare us for the world as it should be. Yeah. And I keep telling people that, like, stop. They're like, what, the world, like, the world is the way it is because humans are doing it. Yeah. These humans keep trying to do something different, and we force them back into this box saying we're preparing them for the world because the world is bad. They're the world. You know, this does not make any sense to me. We have to let them lead us. And yes, it's uncomfortable. Like, it is wild. And I know, like, I make people wildly uncomfortable. But I also know that what I'm saying, while it is against the grain and it's uncomfortable, you gotta hear it. Mm-hmm. You have to confront these things, because otherwise the world's not gonna change. And I will not believe that I got sent down here to live in a world where people who I love and care about are suffering.
Right.
I'm not gonna accept that.
Well, it's. I mean, people can recognize your heart and your passion. Like, it's in you. Like, if you tried to do something else, it wouldn't work. It wouldn't work. At all. It would be like, you know, you be. But even in the struggle, there's peace. I see peace over you because, like you said, you done been in circles. You done been around people of notoriety. You've been around people that have the clout, but they have no substance. Mm-hmm. That's the difference. And we actually have someone here, India Johnson, who is fighting for our children. Like, you're not fighting for the administrator, you're fighting for our children so they can experience what the world really is, because they, like you said, they are the world.
They are the world.
Like we you know, where we at, we right down the street from where these children don't even know what today holds. They don't even know what tomorrow. They don't even see past where they at. But for you to bring something. So with that being said, that passion, that vigor, that all that you have, where did it come from?
You know where it came from. It came straight from God.
Yeah,
you know,
I know, but people may not know.
It came straight from God, and it's always been in me, and it was a battle because I am very different. Just in my existence, the way I exist never fit in the church I was raised in. Right. And so I was talking to my mom about this today. Like, I was like, Mama, you know, I had to choose between being me and being loved by God. You know, it was a choice that I was forced to make. Right. And for a while I was like, well, I'm gonna keep my love for God a secret because I don't know how God feel about me, because I keep on the way I exist just doesn't fit with what they told me God loves. And I don't know, I just went through this, talk about rapid evolution. People have always seen these things in me, but I really, in the past year, was forced to see them in myself, because it's like, India, you can't go into this half-stepping. You can't go into this. You said that you were going to change the world for the better. And you don't, like, you can't change the world for the better unless you believe that you can change the world for the better. And you have to believe in what you believe in. You have to believe in you. And so it was just a whole lot of prayer, like very intentional prayer. God, release anything in me that is limiting me from seeing in me what you see in me. You gotta, like, please. And it was really like, I know that I sat you down for a minute, and I don't want you. My prayer started out like, God, please forgive me for letting you go, giving up on you. And I'm like, oh, you didn't give up on me, and you don't need to forgive me because you never left me. Because really, when I opened my eyes, you've been working through me this whole time. I just didn't know we were working in partnership, so I was making it a whole lot harder on myself, you know, stressing about it. Right. And so, like, to really really truly understand you've never left me, you're not going to forsake me, and you love me, and all of these things that have ever happened to me, every mistake I made, all of that just makes me who I am and gives me more of a why to do this work. I don't know, like it's an addictive feeling to walk into a room and people can feel the love of God emanating off of me. It's like I'm in my car driving wherever I'm driving, I'm like, God, please, I want you to remove anything in me that's gonna get in the way of me ministering to someone in the way that I do it. People don't even be knowing I'm ministering to them. And it's just that. So it's just I live in constant prayer of just like move in me, like less of me, more of you. And like I'm gonna like whatever, I'm not even gonna be afraid. A lot of times I open my mouth and God just comes out, and I've learned how to just not even fight it at this point.
So I mean, you clearly know where your strength and your help and who your source is. He gives us resources, but he's our source, and that's amazing to me because I have seen you involved. I've seen, and that's what I love is that God to teach me about love as well. Like, you know, religion teaches you to do to get God's love, and God never intended for it to be that way where we think that we got to do things. We do things out of love, but we don't do things to for love. And so that's another thing too with your children, because I guarantee you, just hearing you talk, you are a person that you are unconditional lover. And that probably drive these kids crazy because even in their own lives, there are people that come in their lives that say, I want to help you, but as soon as they do something different than what they suggested, then other people are just like, I'm just going to walk on them. They just like all the other kids. This generation don't listen. But you're actually with them even in their...
All of it.
All
the mess. You know, I have housed children. I mean, like I've had former students. One of my former students got shot a couple times last year. Her mom called me. And it is so humbling to have parents who know they can come to me about their kids. And it's not, she ain't got no kids. This woman loves my child and she loves me. And she's not gonna judge me. I'm gonna give her all we got. And she's gonna love us through it. And so, I had a child. I'm changing her bandages up in my house. But then after a while, I'd be like, all right, I'm about to send you back home because I've given you all I can. And I still love you, but I love me the most. I'm not gonna start sacrificing myself because then I can't show up for everybody else. I had one child, she had been homeless. She was homeless. She had graduated, so she was staying with me. And then she refused to do what she needs to do. I'm like, look, I love you and you got to go. Because you're not like, if I'm meeting you halfway for your life, I need you to meet me halfway too. So then I end up having to go ahead and release her on out to the world. A couple months later, I got a Facebook message. You know, I'm sorry for what it was. I'm like, girl, I love you. It's you're 19 years old. You have to figure these things out on your own. It's always love, and they all know that. My first students are 28, 29, 30 years old now, and they know it's love. Like I just love y'all.
And that has to be a great feeling when you see them in the street and they call your name and you walking down the mall, wherever you at, and for them to just call and be able, or call your name or inbox you and say, I appreciate what, it's the small things. It don't necessarily have to be somewhere everybody can see it as, you go on Facebook Live with it, but you're actually doing things behind the scene, and guess what? That seed is being planted. So, cause man, we can talk forever. We ain't got that. We can talk forever. But okay, so about your school, where's your school located? Give me some information on the school.
Okay, so Thrival Indie Academy is located in the Arlington High School building. So right now, it's Arlington Middle School and Thrival Indie Academy. So it's 48th and Arlington.
Yeah.
9th and 10th grade students is what we're having enrolling for this year. really I think our 10th grade or our 9th grade are about full. I think both of them are about full, which is a blessing.
Wow.
Because I had been really stressed. Enrollment had always been like a struggle for me, but I was doing the school the way that they wanted me to do it. So when I started being me and telling people like, look, this school is for us, by us. If y'all want a gospel choir, we're gonna have a fire gospel choir.
Right.
If y'all want anything but a football team, I'm really still struggling with that. Like just the damage that football does to our boys.
Yeah.
But everything else, they know there's nothing off the table. This is our school. Every time somebody says high school, I wish high school did this, I wish high school did that, guess what? We're doing it. And there's anything that you bring to the table, if you want to be of service somewhere where you are valued, come. Like, we love volunteers, we love guest speakers. You don't have to have a degree and a suit and tie to be valued at Thrival.
Gotcha.
You are valued because our value is internal. You were born with value. So you have something to speak to these students. You have something to, enhance them. And so we invite everybody in because this is a community school. Right now, I'm really trying to fund our peace project because we see what's happening in these streets and everybody's doing it the wrong way. Put the guns down or whatever they're doing. They don't understand that our kids, especially our boys, they are depressed and they are suicidal. At this point, they have lost access to care for their lives. So they don't care if they go out in the street and take a life or get their life taken. They are on a suicide mission, a slow one. It is like a gradual release of their life. And I really, really need the entire community to wrap around healing for them and their moms and dads, and grandmothers. But we have to be intentional about healing. So I'm want to do positive thinking courses, conscious parenting, parenting through pain, community and self-advocacy, all these courses for families, for the community, because the kids get it. They get all of this in the class, like who I am. This is what the school is. And you walk out being a vigorous advocate. You walk out being someone who owns your actions, someone who is going to learn through the experiences of yourself and others. But I need also everybody around them to have a little bit of that too. So even if you're someone who's interested in volunteering some services to offer, like whatever I just named, if you can do that for the families, for the communities, for the moms, we love to have that too. This is not just about the children. It is 100% about the children for me, but I know that the children are being raised by somebody who's not me. Yeah. And so there's only so much advocating I can do for them. We got to make sure that their families are healed too, so that they are getting that wraparound support so they can carry this community. If we did what I'm saying we need to do, I'm telling you, 10 years from now, this entire side of town will look different.
No, most definitely.
I'm not going to name the name, but a foundation gave another organization $100 million to do whatever they're supposed to do for the black community. I'm like, if y'all gave me that, if you gave me a tenth of that, right, there would be immediate and long-lasting, sustainable impact on this community. I don't really know what this money is doing right now, but we've got to figure out a way to get the resources in the hands of the right people. And I know it's only a matter of time. God gonna give me the resources.
He will, because you made a valid point as far as the suicide. Like this, working with children, I mentor like 16 boys, black boys, and they so emotionally handicapped. Where I had one first time meeting him, he cussed me out during a basketball game and was ready to fight me, and I had to take him off the game. I didn't kick him off the team, but he couldn't play. Right. He couldn't play this game no more. I get it. Right, but holding him accountable. But I went over there to him afterwards. His uncle was there as well. Went over there to him, and I seen the hurt in his eyes. First of all, he was shocked that I came over to talk to him. And then two, because he was so emotionally handicapped, he got so emotional because he's like, this is a person that's willing to hold me accountable, but he's doing it out of love. And our children, the sad thing about our children, they actually love more dead than alive. Yep. You look at the Facebook post, because I had lost a brother to violence, and so my figure was, and I said this before on the podcast, I always wanted to know, did he know he was going to die? Did he see something? So I will always go back to if the person's Facebook is open, I try to go back to the post before they died.
Yep.
So I try to see, did they say something in that post the day before or getting up to that day? And it's funny because they'll make a post, nobody will comment, nobody will love or nothing.
Yep.
But as soon as they die, then everybody is on their page, RIP. And so the other person that's living, seeing them person that's dead being loved like that,
Yep.
so they know when I do die,
I'm
going to get love just
Yep.
like. And so they're fascinated with dying because I'm gonna get more respect and more love.
Yeah, that's the thing. I made this video very recently. I remember my senior year in college, I was suicidal, took 17 Tylenol PMs, and in my car, I don't know what I thought it was gonna do other than have me institutionalized for a couple days.
Right.
But, you know, I can laugh about it now,
Right.
but I remember at that time thinking like, they're gonna miss me. And so I made this video, I'm like, if you are thinking to take your life for people to miss you, that means that you know that they love you. Yeah. And you gotta hang on to that. Like, if they're gonna miss you when they're gone, that means that they do value your presence now, and you know they value your presence. They just don't have the words to articulate it. Because this is why I'm so pushing this, like, love yourself. Forgive yourself. You have to do that, because until you do that, you can't extend it to the next person. Right. You have nothing to give to anyone else. So, yeah, I mean, I'm trying at this point. It went from the kids to the kids and their parents to the kids, their parents, the community, to the whole wide world. Like, the only way this is gonna work is if we all heal from within. If we all love each other. I don't care what you call that source. You can call it spirit, your creator, the universe. Yeah. God. I don't care about none of that. And I have mastered everybody's language. I don't care about none of that. But do you have something greater than you that can love you when you don't love you? And like, that's all I need you to do. If we could start there, then we can go we can go other places. But between church hurt and school hurt, these two institutions, and then the criminal justice system too, these three institutions have really done a lot to get between people and the access to the power that they actually have. Yeah,
because we're for this to be a very social, we are in a social world. We still have a lot of antisocial people because we don't know how to articulate or tell, I'm hurt. Like, if we can have our children open up and say, that Facebook post you put up, I mean, I know it was about me, but that hurt me. Like, but we don't respond that way. We'd just rather go kill them because we hurt or we afraid or whatever the case may be. But like I said, open it up so you can love yourself. Because when you love yourself, you don't mind telling people like, hey, that hurt.
Right.
Like, when you love yourself, you don't mind saying like, listen, I don't know, this ain't a safe place for us to talk right now because I'm hurt and I may talk to you out of my hurt, and that's going to damage me, and of course it's going to damage you as well. So 9th and 10th graders, so you got 10th grade now. So you said it's almost filled up. Like, what is like the
last time my team told me, so the goal is 75 ninth graders. I think we're around 60 ninth graders. And then the goal was, or maybe it was 85 ninth graders. So we actually have some space for some ninth graders.
Okay.
We have space for some ninth graders. And then 10th graders, our goal was 70, I believe. And we're at about 55 10th graders.
Wow. And that's just through word of mouth?
Yeah, I mean, we've done, so it's really been me just opening up, and my team, my staff have been telling me that like India is you. And I'm like, but no, I wasn't in a place of loving me, feeling confident enough to do that. So one is it's me opening up and saying like, this is who I am and what I care about, and then hiring people, making sure I'm surrounded by people who are as invested in this vision as I am, because then they go out and they talk about it. So I've been doing the news, radio, stuff like that for years, and it really never got anywhere because we don't trust that. You really trust more if your friend come and tell you like, look, I have a school that you should send your son to, and I know it's small, it's not one of these big township schools, but trust me, they will love your son. And that's what's been working. So I'm having families bring their kids out of these township schools into this IPS school. I have families like, okay, well, we're choosing between this private school and your school. And then we have students, because of how sadistic the education system is, who wouldn't be put in any high school because the student, not all 8th graders automatically roll over to 9th grade. Actually, none of them do. in a certain district here. No eighth grader automatically rolls over. You have to apply to a high school. You have to apply to a high school if you're in IPS. You will not get put in high school if you don't actively apply to one.
Really?
So we have hundreds of students who are perpetual eighth graders, and their parents don't know. Their families just don't know.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. So then we all start going after them. And I remember saying going directly after those eighth graders and having adults in this school where the kids go to school. Oh, you don't want them. And I said, well, if I don't want them, who do?
Right.
You know, who's going to want these kids if we don't want them?
Yeah.
What do you want them to die? And I asked them that, do you want them to die? Because they're still here in our city on my side of town, and they're people who I love. So if I give up on them, and y'all give up on them, what is to happen to them?
Right.
That doesn't make any sense. So we're going after them all. I want to have the most diverse. My goal is to have the most diverse school, and really by diverse, I mean socioeconomic diversity, that kind of diverse.
Right.
Because our kids do deserve something. We deserve something that's intentionally black. I'm not saying it's only black.
Yeah.
By no means is this only black, but we are very much keeping our black students in mind for the experience they have, because we have a very unique experience in this country, in this city. But I want a diversity of black people to feed into this school, and then of course all others are welcome as well, because we love everybody.
Right. So then, what's the curriculum? Is it the same as the IPS? Is it the same as the township, or?
So, of course, we follow the graduation guidelines that the state has, but then we put our twist on it. So, like I said, everything is based on the student experience. So our students take ethnic studies, 9th grade, and we take ethnic studies. You're learning about the African diaspora and the impact of people of the African diaspora all over the world. They learn about the Haitian Revolution. They learn about Black Wall Street. They learn about all of these things before it was cool, you know what I mean? Before it became the cool thing to do. They also take citizenship and civics, that's an essential 9th grade class. So you're gonna learn about your rights as a citizen in this country, and what does it mean to be civically involved? What is a nonprofit, and how do you hold nonprofits accountable? We're teaching them this in 9th grade. So then in 10th grade, they take U.S. history as opposed to 11th grade, and that's when we do that tour of the civil rights movement to tie that in. IUPUI is really interested in having a partnership. Of course, through IPS, we have these dual credit partnerships. So our students will also have the opportunity to earn college credits while they're in high school. But every high school has that. So I don't even like making that number one, because I feel like it's just every high school has it, but we're not gonna not have it. We're gonna have that too. But our curriculum it's a humanities curriculum. So interpersonal relations, you're gonna learn about triggers and boundaries. And these are things you're gonna learn about, the healing process and loving yourself first, and how insecurities could show up in different kinds of relationships. It's beautiful to hear these 14-year-olds talk about, well, she triggered me when she said, I just love that.
Right. That's dope.
Yeah,
right.
It is amazing, but they learn how to be the best possible humans they can be.
Right.
And we're creating humanitarians. And you don't have to have $1 million to be a humanitarian. It really is just about using your love and what you care about to do a little bit of good for your people.
So, I'm gonna be honest, I don't know. I see multiple schools.
Oh, absolutely.
I see multiple schools across this nation because, man, if I had some kids of 9th and 10th grade, they'd be going, because what you're teaching is, this is beyond just school. This is life.
It's life.
This life, and then you're connecting the parents or the grandparents or the brothers and sisters or the uncles and aunties, so they can see what life can really be, where you know what your triggers are, where you know that you have to love yourself, because we think when we love ourselves, a lot of times that's like a selfish, being selfish. In actuality, we have to learn how to be selfish on some things.
We do
when it comes to us.
Yes.
And you were talking about how they come over, but they had to go. It's really about balance. You got to teach that. You got to love yourself. You gotta know who you are. You got to know, because then once you know that, and then you know your triggers, you know what hurts you. When you know I deserve more. When you know there's more to life than just this block that I'm on, or whether I'm in the hood, because I'm from the projects. Like, I remember growing up in Flint. We had a good time. We was poor, but we had a good time. But my mom was the type where she would have like Bible study downstairs in the projects in the basement, and kids would only come because she would feed us with freeze cups, moon pies, popcorn.
On, moon pie.
Yeah, right. You know what I'm saying? The yellow ones.
Yeah, ooh, I love the yellow moon pie.
So she would bring, but some days on a Wednesday we may have 10 kids down there, and it's crazy. One of my best friend, he's a pastor in Flint, and I went up there. I was delivering water to Flint, and David couldn't be no more. If I'm 45, David is probably 41. He brought up a certificate that my mother gave him 30 plus years ago. And he said, I want you to tell your mom about this certificate. You know what I'm saying? So you know, like, so I'm just saying that to say this, like, you're affecting people in your staff, and you're affecting people that you may not necessarily see the fruit yourself, but it's being fruit that's growing because of what you did. And so we can go on and on, but listen.
I'm done.
This is why I brought this young lady for the You're Winning podcast. It's purpose over popularity. It's actually understanding that you was put on this earth for a reason, not just to pay bills, not just to get married, just not to so everybody will know your name, but it's someone out there that actually needs your help, needs your love, needs your ideas, needs your creativity, that needs all that.
Yes.
And she's affecting generational type of generation, because understand, what you're doing, a young lady talking about triggers, she'll be able to, when she had children, she'll be able to recognize the triggers and be able to tell them, and then it just perpetual, it just moves on. So India Johnson, man, like, if you don't, we're gonna make sure we have all our information up on the podcast, which will be coming out Thursday. I do want to put a little plug in. We got coming up the King of Kings Gospel Comedy Experience. It's on a Sunday, August 8th. We're going to be bringing in national comedians from all over the United States, even the world. I'm proclaiming the world that's going to come, and just, we're going to have a family good time. And I'm going to stand it out to your kids, and I got group your kids want to come, because what we want to do is we just want to show them that you can be funny without all that other stuff. And I don't knock what everybody else do. I don't knock if you want to cuss and that's what you do. But I want, we bringing family in, and so I would really love you guys to be a part of that. I'll give you more information on it. But India, I'm super proud of you. Like, I know you over Facebook, but to know you, I know for one thing, I'm going to be keeping up, and I'm going to make sure I'm going to promote what you do. I'm going to get with some people and say, hey, this academy is going on, because our children need to know that they are loved.
Yes.
And unconditionally loved, because it's not based on what you do for me. I do it because I love you. And that is the greatest thing God showed us, is his love for us, even when we didn't even love him. So listen, you have been part of the You're Winning podcast. I want to thank you for listening. If you don't mind, could you share? If you could subscribe to the You're Winning podcast, do that for me, please. If more information with India Johnson and the Academy, the Thrive Academy, is out of Arlington. It's gonna all be on the podcast, so you can get it. And listen, I want to say this: spring, $500 per children to go to the civil rights. We need you to sponsor some children. And then in 2023, I'm saying we, because you're gonna be involved with me. We're gonna sponsor some children to go to the DR. All right, y'all with me? Once again, thank you for joining the You're Winning podcast. I have my special guest, India Johnson. I am your host, Donald for Show Martin. God bless you. See you soon.